طيب السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. To be honest, I don't know what to speak about, so I'm just gonna say this at the start. Probably just going to be specific things that come to my mind about seeking knowledge and so. Okay, yeah. طيب. So a common mistake. Thought about this because I just spoke about this with one of the mashayikh, or one of the ikhwa. We spoke about how, and this is a thing that I fell into as well, it's that you need to split the durus that you take into two parts. You need to split them into not two parts, into two groups, I would say. A group of those classes that need you to concentrate 100%, and you need to be on full focus with a pen and paper, or with a pen and the book that you're studying, right? Writing down the fawaid, or taking notes, and all of that stuff. This is the first. So this is the first type. The second type, the type of durus that you don't really need to focus 100%. Now, as an example, and by the way, if you're studying certain books, some parts of that could fall into the first, and some parts could fall into the second category. But before we speak about that, I want to speak about how we even split into those two categories, or what those two categories actually mean. So now, for instance, you're someone who's new to seeking knowledge, and he's just started reading Kitab Tawheed. Here, of course, you will need 100% focus, pen and paper, taking notes, taking everything, so that you can retain everything. So you're gonna need to read the notes. You're probably going to take more than one sharh of the book, right? Like every 2 or 3 months, you're gonna go back to it, right? Because you need it, and because that's from the foundations. Like same thing with falsehood, and so with al-Qaeda al-Wasitiyya. Good. طيب, now that we have that out of the way, what is the difference between the two? So we said the first one, I think it's clear. Write what notes, 100% you do those things. What about the second one? The second one is that type of class where, if you're going to take it in the same way you would you would do with the first one, that you would focus 100%, put 100% focus towards it, you'll start to feel that you'll get distracted. Why? Because you already know that. You already know that which is in it, that which is mentioned in that book or in that class or so. Plus, or before that, actually, I don't want anyone to mix this up with actually being distracted, with those that are addicted to the phone, that physically they just cannot leave it. They take their phone, and they take their phone in all classes. They start to open their messages, open Instagram, open TikTok, and so. This is not the type we're speaking about. We're speaking about the type who is not usually addicted to his phone. But because the content of that class, he already knows, so it's heavy for him to listen to that again, which he has already heard, maybe not once, maybe not twice, maybe like, let's say as an example, a medium student of knowledge, not a beginner and not an advanced one. Maybe he has read like about 100, 150 books, maybe 200 books, right? Split, of course, into the party, some in Aqeedah, some in fiqh, some in tafsir, some in hadith, some in, and so on, right? So if we speak as an example about some basic issue of like Tawheed, right? He would have taken that in ثلاث الأصول and Kitab Tawheed and القواعد الأربعة and العقيدة الوسيطية, and he's taken it in this and that, right? And he's taken it in the Sahih Bukhari, and in Sunan Abi Dawood, in Sunan Ibn Majah, in Sunan Darimi, and so, right? So he has heard it a lot of times. So if he hears it again, he'll be bored. Now, if he takes as an example Sharh al-Tahawiyya of Ibn I realize the start of Sharh Tahwiyya is basically on the importance of Tawheed and Aqidah, right? So if he hears that, he's gonna be like, bro, I've already heard all of this. Not to say that Sharh Tahwiyya is an easy book. Sharh Tahwiyya is not an easy book, but I mean the introduction or the first few topics that Ibn Abil Izz speaks about, they're very easy and every person will understand them. Even beginners in seeking knowledge. What I mean here, but of course the book after that gets more advanced. So let's go back now to the main point. You, as a student of knowledge, need to split these books, the books that you read, and again, this is not for those addicted to TikTok or so. You need to split the books you read into two, or not the books you read, the classes that you hear into two groups. And this group is naturally going to change when you're going to advance in knowledge. At the start, when you're starting to seek knowledge, everything is going to be in the first one. Even Aqsam Khsarat would be in the first one. One of the easiest books in fiqh. Why? Because your level is 0. There's nothing on the level 0. So when you go read the books of 1, even those will be like difficult for you. Like now, I want to give an example with myself. I don't want to say that I am like an advanced student of knowledge, or anything. Allah musta'an. But the issue is that me, as an example now, sometimes I read certain books and I'm like, bro, we've read this before in this book and that book and this book and that. Like, it's not like I don't care. It's not like that thing is not an important thing. No, it is a very important thing and we must emphasize on it. But listening to a 2-hour lecture on a thing that I know is not easy. Simply because it's like, bro, I know this, So it's like you kind of get the feeling that, I could invest my time in a better thing or so. But sometimes I even just do it for my friends when we have a group and we read books together and they are like less than me in knowledge, so I choose these types of books so that they learn. But in that time, I'm like, bro, I could do other things. Or sometimes you have a book like, I remember I started seeking knowledge. This is not something I would advise one to do. I listened to the ta'liq or the commentary of Sheikh Muhammad on Sharia al-Ajurri. Very big book. Why did I do that? I can't say why did I do that, because at that time I was still a big beginner, and that book is not a big beginner book, but alhamdulillah I was not like a total big beginner, so I did understand everything in the book. But it's like, it is generally not correct that you would read such a book at that time, But for me, because I had already read a lot before that, it was like, okay, I did basically understand it, but it's not the best thing for other reasons other than not understanding it. Because not understanding is not the only reason why you should not read a certain thing at a certain time. But this is not the topic here. So in short, I was reading a Sharia al-Ajurri, and to be honest with you, wallahi, when the Shaykh was done, because I was following the Shaykh on it at the time when he was still doing it, and I remember when the Shaykh was done, I was so sad, but wallahi, I was really sad when Shaykh was done with the Kitab Sharia. Wallahi, I love that book. It's one of my favorite books until now. Wallahi العظيم. طيب. But so in short, what I'm trying to say here is that at that time, how did I listen to the Sharh al-Sharia al-Ajurri? If I would have sat down with pen and paper, I would have gotten bored right away. I would have left after the 4th class, maximum. I remember even when I decided to join it, the Sheikh was already done with 8 classes. So I listened to the first 4 in a day and the other 4 in a day, and then I joined the Sheikh on the rest. Allah understand. But يعني, what I'm trying to say is, imagine now if I would have said, when I'm يعني, a beginner, let's sit down and take notes. I would have been like, bro, this book is so hard. Even though the book is one of the easiest books, but it's just, I don't have knowledge on the way, why is he saying it this way, why is he not saying, even though I understand the content of it, right? But it's like, I don't know what to write, you know? So what I did at the time was that I would, you know, I would go for a walk, as I am now. I would go for a walk and listen to it. I remember actually, I recall, subhanAllah, like 2 years ago, maybe. I think it was 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Yeah, Allahu A'lam. I was walking in the same place where I actually am right now. It was not exactly here. It was like, yeah, it's very close to here, like less than a kilometer from where I am now. Actually, I'm gonna go there now. And I was there, bro, and I was like, and I remember just learning new things from the Sheikh. And it was so, yani the knowledge that I gained there from the Sheikh, even as I said, I was a beginner, so I didn't have any, I gained a lot from it, even though I understood everything, you know? I hope it's clear. Yani I understood it, right? But I just didn't know it before that. So in short, I did the same with Al-Lalakai. So in short, I would go for a walk. As I said, I'm going to go now to the place where I actually remember, where I listened to the first 4 classes of the Sharia. So I, basically, I would go for a walk, listen to it. I would do that as well with Al-Wajis, but we will get to that in a second. So I would put the headphones in and then go for a walk and listen to it. Now, here, you're not gonna get bored as easy as if you're just seated in your room. I'm gonna tell you now, me recording this recording, here, now, when I'm going for a walk, it's so much easier than for me to record it when I'm at home. When I'm at home, I'm like, bro, I have my computer here. I could be writing with this and could be writing that, could be responding to this guy and so. But when I'm here, it's like I don't have Wi-Fi. I don't have anything to. I don't have anything else to do, basically. So basically, that's why I don't have any option other than that I record this voice or this recording. I'm actually now at that place where I was when I recall when the Sheikh spoke about the Khawarij and so. طيب. So then as I told you guys, I would go for that walk, and I remember I would now, as you see, I could even remember where I was standing when I heard the Sheikh say something about the Khawarij and the ruling on the Khawarij, right? That is how much, if you do the same while you were at home, and you would listen to it while you're at home, and because you were bored, you'd do what you would: open your phone, check messages, check Instagram, and so. If you even continue listening, then the least thing that will do is that you will not even understand that which you heard. And this is why I love this technique, which is basically, as we said, you will recall more. So now, why do we say this after we said that we split the class into 2? I said that because, so now, if we split the classes that you want to hear into 2 categories, you have that one category where you need to sit 100% concentration with a pen and paper, right? And the second one where you could just go for a walk. Because now, why is this important to do. This is important to do because if you don't go for a walk, or you don't drive your car, or you don't do this or that, or you don't clean the house or wash the dishes or so while you're doing that, then you will not do it, because you will listen to it, and then because you find it boring, you will leave it. طيب. Now I want to go to the example of al-wajiz, where I said that I'll speak about al-wajiz in a second. We know or I'm sure you guys know the sharh of Sheikh Muhammad on the book Al-Wajiz fi Sunnat al-Nabawiyya. It's basically a collection of authentic ahadith on everything, aqeedah, fiqh, so on. That book, the Sheikh now has reached 77 classes. That book, I remember he started around the same time as Al-Kafi al-Shafi and Al-Sharia. It could be like in the same month or around the same time of the year. So the Sheikh, I started to listen to it in the same way as I did with Al-Sharia. يعني I would listen to the first class, second class, third class, and then I would listen to the class when I would go for a walk every day. After he was done with it, يعني I would not go to it in the live stream, but I would listen to it when the day after, and I would go for a walk. By the way, that time I lost a lot of weight because of the amount of time that I would spend every day walking. If I listen to a Sharia and all of these while taking a walk, I understand. So basically, I first listened to it while I was on a walk, and then I was like, bro, no, this book is not a book that you just listen to. And at that time, I wasn't aware of this category, this 100% focus, this 50%. In fact, I wasn't 100% aware of it until I spoke to the akh today. Yani I did it, but I didn't do it, or I didn't categorize it in the way he told me to. But in short, I listened to it first in that way, and then I realized this book is not for such. So I bought it and I listened to the entire book. Yani alhamdulillah, bifadlillah, I have followed all classes until now. The Shaykh is still not done with it, because he took a long break from it. And so, but so yani, so far I've read the entire book until now where the Shaykh stopped, which is like basically the last few chapters. I think where he stopped before the start of Kitab al-Sira or al-Maghazi, which is I think the last one after the I think the one we finished was Az-Zuhd no, it was Al-Riqaq, the ahadith about Az-Zuhd and so. And now inshallah ta'ala, when the Shaykh will restart it, or when Shaykh will resume the class, we'll go to the book of the As-Sira. But what I'm trying to say is that I realized that this book is not a book that you listen to the explanation of while you're going for a walk. This book is the book where you really need to sit and take notes inside of the book. So now you will see that book, the book that wajiz, you find I have notes in literally every page, or at least at the start here. Because then that was another issue, that the Sheikh was doing it only like I think once or twice a week. So because of that, I was doing other things every day. So then when I was starting with the Sheikh, everything for me was like almost like 50% of it was like new and so on. So I took a lot of notes and so. And then now when I listen to it, especially things in fiqh and so, because I've read other things during that time, alhamdulillah, I already know them. So for me now, that book would be something to listen to while I'm going for a walk. And this brings me back to the point that I said in the start, which is that deciding if a book for you is in the 50% focusing category or the 100% doesn't depend on the book, it depends on you, right? And this is the exact example, this is the clearest example to this. Why? Now, someone is a beginner in knowledge, has not read a book in fiqh, has not read a book in hadith, has not read Sahih Bukhari, or usually when you start studying a hadith, you would start after Umdat al-Ahkam, and so you would start with from al-Kutub al-Tis'a, you would start with Al-Muwatta and then al-Tirmidhi. But this is it's not what I wanted to speak about. But someone who hasn't studied anything, and he comes now and says, I want to study al-Wajiz, I would tell him, this book you need to not 100% focus, you need 120%. You need to leave your phone in the other continent, because it's so important for you to focus on this, because this will build the usul, right? The foundations. But now if someone would come and ask me the same thing, but I know this person that he's not like the first one, that he's he has an ijazah in Al-Muwatta and he has an ijazah in Al-Tirmidhi, then I'll not tell him that. Then I'll tell him, okay, if you even you're not even the type that this book is for Aslan. So if you really want to listen to the explanation of it, then you would put it in the 50% category, right? So this put it in 50 or 100%. Yes, sometimes it is only on the book, but not always. In fact, most of the times it has nothing to do with the book, but it has to do with your degree. And now Kitab Tawheed, we mentioned Kitab Tawheed before. Kitab Tawheed, for someone who is new, I remember I gave one of my prints of Kitab Tawheed one day to one of the ikhwa, and after that I asked him, have you started to study it and so, because I didn't want to give him it as a gift, and then he doesn't do anything with it. So I asked him, did you start to read it and so? And he was like, yeah, and I gained a lot of things. And then I told him, tell me one or two things that you learned new from this book. Then he gave me a list of things that for certain people at a certain degree of seeking knowledge, it seems like this is the most thing that everyone knows. How can someone not be aware of this? But this brother, Jazahullah khairan, he was he hadn't read anything. I think he had read ثلاث الأصول. He had read like ثلاث الأصول القواعد الأربع. Not read, I mean taking like a sharh, right? You could say he has studied ثلاث الأصول, studied القواعد الأربع, studied, I think he also said now وقت الإسلام مسائل الجاهلية يعني, but he hadn't studied Kitab Tawheed. So I gifted him Kitab Tawheed, and then he told me, Wallahi, I gained this from Kitab Tawheed and this so far, and he wasn't even done with it. And he told me, I gained 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I was like, bro, subhanallah. Yani, I'm not even saying we, I don't want to say we. Students of knowledge who have went beyond the degree of Kitab Tawheed, Kashf Shubuhat, and so we'll see those things that he said that he gained, we'll see them like the least things, or not the least from that they are not, from that they are unimportant things. No, of course, Kitab Tawheed is about the most important things, which is the Tawheed and Shirk, but about the fact that how can someone not be aware of these things, So what I'm trying to say here is that for this brother, Kitab Tawheed was something that needed full concentration from him, because it is new content for him, It is things in it that he had not learned before. So this is why he needed to concentrate on it. For me, or again, I don't say me, but okay, for me, Kitab Tawheed is something that I would put in the 50% category. But yes, when I was starting out, like that brother, Jazahullah khairan, for me it was also in the same way that it is for him, right? So as we said, the mas'ala is not about the book, the mas'ala is about your degree, your level in knowledge. طيب. حبيبي. طيب. So that's what I'm trying to say. And this is a very important thing for students of knowledge to understand. Not every book you read and you buy, and even not every book you read in PDF. There are books you read, and there are books you can just listen to a sharh of your sheikh or so. But what I'm trying to say is that you don't need to read it. You don't need 100% concentration. You could drive a car, go for a walk, or so, right? And by the way, I want to speak about the issue of going for a walk or driving a car. It's better if you, for the 50%, that you are driving or walking to a place that you know. Because if you're driving or walking to a place that you have not went before, in that case, your concentration is going to focus more on this street, even though nowadays, alhamdulillah, because of the GPS and so, you might not even need 20% concentration on the way, but still, it is best if you would leave that to the ways that you know, and if you go to your parents' house, or if you go to the masjid or so, the things that you go a lot, and you already know how to reach there, so yeah. So I hope that this voice note was beneficial. This audio was beneficial to some of the students of knowledge who have been struggling with this. As I said, I struggled with this without even knowing. I knew this strategy, but it's just I forgot to apply it, So that's why I spoke to the Akh, and he told me about this. And of course, for the topic about the tax, if we're talking about when you're in the way or so, pss, pss. Bro, come here, bro. Pss, pss. I'm sorry about the disturbance. There's my neighbor's cat. I don't want him to go near this street, Pss. So yeah. That's all. So now, so I was saying that the easiest way is that you could also, if you were in a taxi, or if not you're the it's not you that who is driving needs to take care of the way, And I had a time where I would go to work when I didn't have a driver's license, and one of my friends, he would bring me, so I would sit the entire time and listen to classes. I finished books and series just listening to it on my way to and from, because my way was an hour at least. So I had an hour, or I had 2 hours every day where I would, طيب. نعم, it could also, for the 50% category, it doesn't only include going for a walk, driving, being in a taxi. It could also include simply just, astaghfirullah al-azim. It could also just include the fact that you are cleaning the house or so. It doesn't have to be that you're going somewhere, Because the majority of examples I gave now were about people going taxi, car, driving, going for a walk or so. Psst, psst. Ya habibi. طيب. الله المستعان. طيب. I might speak about one other thing. We could speak about this another day, make it longer, like we did with this one. But we could also mention it in short now here, which is the issue of I want to seek knowledge, but I can't. Not I can't from the degree that people always say I don't have time. No, I mean the one who has time, and he sits to start, and he just cannot start, or he just not cannot, but he feels like there's something stopping him. This could be jinn, yes, but it doesn't have to be. It could also be of course it could be jinn, it could be waswas from the shaitan, but it could just be that this specific, okay, let's say, I'm not going to say how to solve it, how, if you really, a mistake that I fell into is that I wanted to listen to a specific class when I was at work, when I was done with work, after I would be done with work, I basically would have like an hour or two where I wouldn't do anything. So what I wanted to do is that I listened to that certain class at that time when I was done with work, and I would leave work at like 3:30. Most days I'd be done with work at like 3, so I had like half an hour. Sometimes I'd be even done at 2, or like even sometimes I would be done at 12. I couldn't just go home because as I said, I would I didn't have a car, or I didn't have a driver's license. But in short, so ya habibi, astaghfirullah al-azim. So I would want to listen to that specific class at that specific time, the time when I would be done with work, and I would still be at work and I don't have anything to do. I wanted to listen to it at that time, but then I always realized I couldn't. حبيبي تعال يا حبيبي يرحم والديك تعال يا أخي تعال. Why do you want to stand in the middle of the street? يا حبيبي يا الله. طيب. Okay. So in short, Ya Allah, now he's in the Astaghfirullah al-Azim. So we were saying, I realized after time I couldn't, it's just not going to work. I cannot focus at that time. I just simply cannot. So what the Shaykh told me is, طيب, why did you still want to do it at that certain time? And he just say, okay, this time is not going to work, Allah musta'an, and just don't do it at that time, do it at another time. Listen to that class at another time. Right? And at that time, when I was done with work, I was never, I would always, I would open the book and open the class. I would even start like the first 1 or 2 minutes or so, and then always something would block me. Someone would come to me, and in the end, what I would do mostly in that time, I would give da'wah to one of the guys with me at work. He had like issues concerning like النساء, pornography. He had issues with the salah, so I would speak to him, and then alhamdulillah he started to pray and he left all those things. But يعني what I'm trying to say is that I never was able to listen to that class that I wanted to listen to in that time. So the Shaykh told me, طب, just stop trying to listen to it at that time, right? Decide another time for it. طيب, the third thing that the Shaykh said to me is, what was I going to say? I'm so distracted by the cat, but alhamdulillah, he came back from the street. I didn't want him to be in the middle of the street, and then he gets hit by a car, so But yeah, so what was I saying, bro? That you don't listen to a specific time. That you have certain classes, that you basically have a priority list of classes. For me, as an example now, it would be Sharh Al-Tahawi and Zad Al-Musafir. These two, I have a long list of classes that I would listen to every day. Jam' al-Bayan al-Ilm wa Fadlih, in the last month. Jam' al-Bayan al-Ilm wa Fadlih, Fadail al-Sahaba, Ar-Rad'a Jahmiyya lid-Darimi, and so on. جامع أصول 9 التسعين, and so from one hand, by the way, I advise against that you start more than one book and the same topic. And you just always have one book in Aqidah that you're reading, one book in Fiqh. But me personally, I don't know why, sometimes I can't take my own advice. But even though I know it would be best, but Allah musta'an, inshallah. But yeah, so make a tier list, you could say, or priority list for the books that you want to read. Meaning, now, if my day is so busy and I cannot do anything, I have 20 minutes, then at least do Sharh Al-Tahawi, right? Because sometimes what you would do is you would have a lot of time in your day, or you would not have a lot of time in your day. And then those 10, 20, 30 minutes that you do have, you would think, what book do I want to start? And this is from the doors of the shaitan. That you keep thinking, should I do Al-Jama' fil Iman, or الشريعة, or should I do ثلاثة الأصول, or should I do فتح المجيد, or should I do, right? I'm sure some people could think or could relate to what I'm saying. So it's like, bro, astaghfirullah al-azim, in that way the shaitan is going to always take you, to think, and you're not going to do. You're always going to think, but you're not going to do, right? This is also from the doors of the shaitan. So I'm always thinking, should I do this? Should I do Al-Shari'a or Al-Laka'i? Or should I first do Aqsa Sarat? No, you know what? I'll do Aqsa Sarat. Then you go to start and say, no, wait, I think it would be better to do Al-Shari'a. Ya akhi, khallasni. I'm sure some people can relate to it. So this is why you have this priority list, which is if I have a day where I genuinely cannot do anything, I don't have time for anything, then if I have a small amount of time, at least do that one class. At least read one page of that one book. Even if it's not a lot. Even if I won't listen to the entire class. Right? But at least start it. Ya habibi. At least start in it, yani. Habib qalbi. So yeah. So at least do that one. And let's say now you genuinely have zero time and genuinely don't even have time for just one page. In that case, right? In that case, make yourself time. Because I'm sure you will find time. It's not that you don't have time. Sometimes it's the fact that I don't want to have time. You know? Like, wow, now he's attacking another cat. I think I'm gonna title this The Return of the Cat. Please. So then, at least someone could tell me, I had a long shift today at work. I had to work extra hours. I don't have time for, seeking knowledge anymore. Sometimes this could be an excuse, and I don't want to say don't do it or don't seek knowledge in that day, because you will use that as a door to further days in that way, even though when they're not really, when that case doesn't really affect them. That the shaitan gives you was that this day is like that day which you had. But in that day which you had, you were really tired. You genuinely couldn't. You really worked, and you worked, you worked over your normal work hours, So then the shaitan tells you that this day is like that one. When it's not, so you start to think, okay, I'm actually, I'm actually tired. I can't do it. I hope everything's clear. I really don't know what to title this. The War of the Cats, the Return of the Cats, the Advice of the Cat. I don't know. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك نشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت نستغفرك ونتوب إليك. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.